The ever-evolving story of Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter and gambling. What we know before Ohtani makes his first public remarks since IP Mizuhara was fired over in Korea, coming up at 2:45 this afternoon. John Calipari sounds off on March Madness, and also college athletics continuing to ever evolve. USA's victory over Mexico in Sunday's CONCACAF Nations League championship game overshadowed by fans chanting offensive slurs towards both goalkeepers. That and plenty more coming up on a Monday edition of Press Row, live on C2C, right here and right now. This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. And good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome into another edition of the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network's Sports Media and Sports Business Perspective podcast. That, of course, folks, is Press Row. Coming at you live from sunny San Diego, California. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, joining you today here on a beautiful, with no rain in the forecast finally here in San Diego. Hopefully all is well with you today on this Monday. Again, folks, here on Press Row, we dive into all of the biggest sports news of the day, but again, view it, though, from the angle of the sports media and sports business perspective today. Again, we're covering a lot of angles today, folks. Of course, we have the big talking point, though, in baseball coming up here in just a moment. But again, folks, one quick small note. Once more, again, here for some housekeeping again. We have live programming coming your way on May 4th, live from Eugene, Oregon. The 2024 Backyard Brew Games Cornhole Tournament will be streamed live here and in practically its entirety at 12 noon, beginning at 12 noon, I should say, right here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. But of course, folks, here on Press Row, we invite your input again. Questions, comments, or concerns, hot takes, cold takes, loony takes, off-the-wall takes. If you agree or disagree with anything that I say on here, of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, via our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and also via the Callan McClurg Sports Twitch channel. All right, folks, into the big board we go. And we're going to get to the biggest story of the day right now, which, of course, is in wake of what has gone on involving Dodgers star sensation Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter, now fired interpreter, IP Mizuhara. Now, again, folks, this came out over the course of the last game of the day when the Padres and Dodgers were playing overseas over in Seoul, South Korea, breaking, I want to say, very late in the evening on Wednesday into Thursday morning. But again, folks, per reports, and we can confirm real quick here before we dive further into the topic here, as of 2:45 p.m. Pacific time today, Shohei Ohtani will make his first media remarks to the Los Angeles and global audience. Again, 2:45 p.m. live on Emily Network. We'll hopefully have coverage of that for you later on this evening with myself and James Gonzalez here on C2C at night. But with that, though, folks, again, to get into the big story again, Shohei Ohtani, two-way superstar for the Dodgers, will again address the media today on Monday at 2:45 p.m. Can confirm that time, Pacific time, regarding the gambling scandal involving him and former interpreter IP Mizuhara. The timing, though, of Shohei's appearance is uncertain. Now, again, can be confirmed at 2:45 p.m. today, as the Dodgers do have an evening spring training game scheduled against Ohtani's former ball club, the Los Angeles Angels, at Dodger Stadium. It is also right now still unclear whether or not Ohtani will actually take questions or simply read a statement. The scandal currently now involves allegations that IP Mizuhara $4.5 million in gambling debts. The Dodgers have already fired Mizuhara, and Major League Baseball has now launched an investigation into this matter. Despite the lingering controversy, Ohtani remains focused on the game and is also set to play in the Dodgers home opener coming up against the St. Louis Cardinals on Thursday at Dodger Stadium. Okay, before I dive into this, folks, I want to do something very quick. You see this hat right here? I'm going to put it on to show where my allegiance is as a baseball fan, the San Diego Padres. Screen grab it real quick. I'll let this marinate for a little bit because I'm going to get into a very, to a perspective here in just a moment. But again, take a screen grab so you see where I am as a baseball fan, okay? You see that? That's an SD for San Diego, not South Dakota. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Now let's talk about this from a baseball perspective. Throwing fandom, throwing hatred, throwing dislike for a certain ball club out the window. Let's talk about this from the broader picture, as we do here on Press Row 9 times out of 10 when it comes to our talking points. I have a one-word question. Why? If I have to go full-blown Nancy Kerrigan, I will. Why? Why does it always seem like, folks, Major League Baseball can never get themselves out of their own way? A colleague of mine, Tyler Southwood, and I talked about this Ohtani issue yesterday before the Gulls played Calgary in our production office when I got to work at the arena yesterday. And Tyler said it right. How does baseball let this stuff continue to happen? And I even told Tyler straight up too yesterday, and I think I said this last Monday here on PR. This just adds another layer to what has been, again, the most anticlimactic, boring, lackluster baseball offseason in my 29 years and 3 months and however many days it's been of me living on this planet. As I went off on my rant last Monday, the fact that baseball now starts on Thursday and there's still a couple of big-name free agents still out there unsigned is despicable. But again, now from the broader baseball picture, folks, again, why? For what Shohei Ohtani has single-handedly done in this game since coming over from Japan to the Angels and now to the Dodgers. And now the fact that almost like MLB's golden child, who has been doing stuff we've never seen in our lifetimes, dating back to Babe Ruth and Murderer's Row back in the day with the New York Yankees for probably all that we know. But now that probably the best talking point, the biggest positive talking point for Major League Baseball in this two-way phenom, and now something like this comes out. Now, I don't want to speculate about what has gone on. Again, folks, if you joined James and I last week when we talked about this, we kind of beat around the bush a little bit because we're still kind of waiting to hear more concrete information. Now, once more, I can confirm for you folks that at 2:45 p.m. Pacific time, live on MLB Network, Shohei Ohtani will make his first public commentary and public remarks since IP Mizuhara's firing following the team traveling back from Korea. And again, we also can't confirm that baseball has launched an investigation into this matter. But I shake my head. I put my hands on my head. I facepalm like Sir Patrick Stewart. Because, again, the single best thing going for Major League Baseball, now in a major market with a major market franchise, now in a way is skirting Pete Rose's legacy of wagering. Though, again, right now, we can also do know right now that, again, Shohei has not actually been charged with anything. There's been no link yet to Shohei to the gambling debts of IP Mizuhara, other than the fact that Shohei, in a way, and I respect him for it, helped out a friend in need. And I always tell people that if I had to get the shirt off my back for you because of what you were going through, I would do it in a heartbeat. But as a fan of the game of baseball, this is the last thing that we need as baseball fans. To keep stacking this deck of cards of what's been a lack is now having one of the game's brightest stars being caught up, though, in a similar spot to Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose. And it boils down to gambling. Now, again, folks, there's been a lot of different directions taken here with what we do know and what we have been able to report on and the information that is, in fact, out there. And again, once more, Shohei Ohtani will make his first public remarks today, 2:45 p.m. Pacific time, 5:45 Eastern, well before the Dodgers play the Angels at Dodger Stadium tonight for their almost second-to-last spring game of the season. But also now you even wonder, again, from a baseball perspective, again, that I believe in that contract that Shohei signed, there is an opt-out clause if key Dodger personnel were fired or left the organization, mainly Andrew Friedman, Mark Walter as the owner. But now, though, a little bit of that does come into my mind, though, about, okay, Shohei's best friend and interpreter just got fired. You know, what, in a way, happens here with that? But again, though, folks, this is such an unfortunate situation, again, for Major League Baseball. But I also think, though, that the league is not safe from scorn. How does baseball look in the mirror, knowing damn well that they have banned Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose for life from the game for wagering? But now in this new day and age of the sports landscape, where wagering is legal in 40 of 50 states, and I have to mention again that my home state of California, where sadly Ohtani plays his games, sports wagering is illegal in California. And per the reports gathered, that IP was in touch with a illegal bookie here in California. Now, again, per the reports, he was not wagering on baseball. He was wagering on soccer, the NFL, basketball, and other sports. But I do know that there has been some rumbling, some rumor mills, and some off-the-record discussion, kind of thinking along the lines, though, of those times that Ohtani exited an Angels start as a pitcher early, and now people wonder about, was that along the lines of IP maybe secretly putting a wager down on the opposition to beat the Angels? And Ohtani had some knowledge of that coming out. Now, again, that's all, again, kind of off the record, again, not confirmed by any sources. But again, Major League Baseball, you're not safe from any scorn from any fan out there. For the simple fact, again, that you have banned the all-time hit leader in Pete Rose, and you banned Shoeless Joe Jackson for their life, for their gambling addiction or them gambling in general. Yet, though, now you have locked up multi-million-dollar deals with all of these gambling websites MGM and DraftKings and FanDuel and Underdog and all these other, wagering websites. And again, we also can't confirm that IP did use DraftKings and other accounts for his wagers. So again, if you're baseball, how in the world can you look in the mirror today on this Monday, 3 days away from opening day of your league starting operation for the regular season again, not those 2 games in Korea for the last time. But how do you as a league front office, how do you wake up today? Or how do you enjoy your lunch break today? Or how do you sit now nearing the rush hour traffic at 5 o'clock local time up there in New York? How do you as a league look in the mirror for at least the third known time in your game's history that there is gambling dirt on your league logo right now? Yet you are satisfied by sponsorship deals with DraftKings and FanDuel and all these other gambling partners out there. Yet you have banned 2 of the most notable names in baseball history because of their gambling past. And now for the third time that I can recall in my time being a baseball fan, gambling comes back to the forefront in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball better look in the mirror and figure something out. Can also confirm via reports earlier today from CBS this morning that IP Mizuhara also potentially lied on his resume, saying he was an interpreter for former Red Sox closer Koji Uehara, and also for Hideki Okajima, I should say, and also the fact that he graduated from UC Riverside in 2007. The Red Sox have come out and said that IP never worked with Hideki Okajima ever. And UC Riverside also confirmed via a report and a statement that they have no record of anyone named IP Mizuhara being in the student portal or student body records. So that becomes a sidebar now too. But again, why is all I have to ask Major League Baseball. Why? If the reports are true, folks, about Ohtani helping pay off the debt for Mizuhara, that's just a friend helping out a friend in crisis. I've done that with friends of mine in the past. I've had friends who've helped me out in the past when I've had financial trouble. Again, like I said earlier, if I had to give the shirt off my back to someone who needed it, I would. Because that's the kind of person that I am. And I view that with Shohei here, a friend needing a lifeline. You know, could you perhaps help me get rid of these gambling debts? I'm trying to quit my gambling addiction, but I just can't pay it off right now. And again, to this one side, this one sidebar of it, I see where Shohei's coming from about helping a friend in need. But again, right now, the reports also coming out about Ohtani having his name on the checks. The bookie allegedly also using Ohtani's name to kind of help his business out. That's right there what scares me. That right now this could be a Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson thing just for the simple fact that Ohtani's name was on those transfers. But also, I do kind of blame Shohei a bit, though. Why in the world are you giving your best friend access to your money and your bank account information? It's one thing to maybe share a Google Calendar with coworkers or with a friend of yours if you're trying to link up to go and spend the day together when work finally evens out for you both. But not giving them your financial records and your financial login information, for God's sakes, man. Again, I do see that there is fault and that there can be and can't be fault for Shohei Ohtani. I think I'm more worried, though, as a baseball fan for the fact that Shohei's name was on those wire transfers and that IP somehow, some way got into his accounts to send him the money, or again, maybe send that bookie the money too for his wagers. But again, I think, though, that Major League Baseball deserves a lot of the blame here too. For the simple fact that they have banned 2 players for life for gambling of some type. Now, again, the league has begun their investigation, so I think we can probably maybe pull the parachute. Maybe I can cool the jets a bit, though, on the league and what they will do. But I just think, though, that knowing, though, that this has happened twice already in league history with Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose, now for a third time, one wonders slap on the wrist will probably be the thing because it's the golden child of the league. He's in a major media market with the Dodgers. But now I also kind of think, though, does this kind of in a way wipe off the scorn of Fernando Tatis Jr. and PEDs a couple years ago? I think it should. Because this is now the new season talking point. For so long we've made steroids a talking point through the steroid era with Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro, the Balco situations. Then it came back to fruition with Fernando a couple years ago. Now this becomes our new talking point, is another gambling story in Major League Baseball. Where, again, this front office better damn well look in the mirror and figure it out. If they're so excited about having these gambling partnerships, then you know what? You reinstate Shoeless Joe and you reinstate Pete Rose and you figure out something to do with Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter or former interpreter. This beyond ridiculous and stupid double standard needs to go away. Just like I said when all of these baseball pundits praised Ohtani going to the Dodgers, yet, though, again, like I will kind of in a way go down that salty Padre fan route, though, from last week. All the national media praised Ohtani going to L.A., but criticized every move the Padres made for Fernando and Xander and Machado and Darvish and Musgrove. That is the only salty thing I'll probably get off my chest in this story. But as a fan of the game once more, Major League Baseball, get your head out of your ass and figure it out. It's not that damn difficult. If now all of a sudden that it's all goody two-shoes and okay for your league to now begin again branching out to gambling websites and daily fantasy, then you better reverse course. You reinstate Shoeless Joe, you reinstate Pete Rose, and you put those 2 deserving players for what they did on the field of play into the Hall of Fame. Because now if it's okay for people to gamble on your sport, then Rose and Shoeless Joe better be in. But this stupid and pathetic double standard is beyond ridiculous. But again, we will further reserve judgment, folks, right now at this time. Shohei will again address the media at roughly 2:45 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon before the Dodgers play the Angels at Dodger Stadium in their second-to-last spring game of the season. But the whole story, though, folks, for me as a baseball fan, just makes me sick to my stomach. That we are dealing with gambling for the third known time in baseball history. And again, at this time, right now where things stand, it's very hard for me to really blame anything on Shohei Ohtani. This is also not the fact, folks, that I got to announce Shohei as an Angel 2 years ago in my Major League debut behind the PA mic at Angel Stadium. I just think, again, it was something that I think any of us out there would have done for a friend or for a family member in need. going through something. And I know addiction sucks. Gambling, smoking, alcohol, you name it. It's a hard thing to break. It's very hard to break. And I think that, again, that right now that Shohei is mainly just, or was being there for, again, his best friend. Again, I can recall a couple times recently where, again, I have helped friends out who have needed the help. And they've returned the favor when I've asked for help. That's how I view this story right now, is that this is merely Shohei Ohtani helping a friend who just could not kick his addiction to gambling. But again, I do, though, get concerned for the fact that Shohei's name was on those wire transfers. Again, could you blame Shohei in a way, though, for letting his interpreter have access to his bank account information? Absolutely. But I think, though, that you also think, though, about that bond and trust, though, that they've established over their entire time. I view it more for the fact that baseball needs to wake up and figure this crap out. That's more of where I think my frustration as a baseball fan would be. That now we've entered this realm and this, alternate reality that baseball now all of a sudden is all lovey-dovey about gambling. Yet again, they don't look in the mirror every morning when they wake up, knowing well that they have screwed over Shoeless Joe Jackson and screwed over Pete Rose for the longest time because they wagered and gambled. But now in this alternate universe, they thoroughly enjoy gambling all of a sudden. But now here we are again in 2024 with gambling coming back to the forefront in a league that again has excluded Shoeless Joe Jackson and the all-time hits leader in the game and Pete Rose from the Hall of Fame because of their gambling past. So what's it going to be, baseball? What's it going to be? The Dodgers have already fired IP Mizuhara. Shohei, per reports, has language in his contract that he could leave the Dodgers and opt out because a key personnel member of the club was fired. You want that PR nightmare again? You want to have this $700 million man opt out of a contract because his best friend and interpreter, key personnel of the Dodgers, got fired? What's it going to be, baseball? What is it going to be? Something, anything, nothing, crickets, slap on the wrist? But also, what a nightmare this is for the Dodgers. What a nightmare this is now for the Dodgers. Again, James and I talked at length a little bit on Coast to Coast Tonight last week. Think about the last couple of seasons off the field for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, a franchise held in such high regard. But the PR nightmares of Julio Urias twice already, and the PR nightmare that was Trevor Bauer. And now a PR nightmare with arguably the golden child right now of Major League Baseball and Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter's gambling habits. That right there is 4 different PR firestorms and dumpster fires that a franchise like the Los Angeles Dodgers does not need to have happening. Because now the track record becomes, well, the Dodgers endorse having people on their team who abuse women and then they gamble on sports. Is that really what you want if you're the Los Angeles Dodgers? For God's sakes, you're a trailblazing organization. You broke the color barrier with Jackie Robinson. You tapped into the Pacific Rim and over in Korea when you got Chano Park and Hideo Nomo from Japan. Yet sexual assault twice, 3 times matter for that matter. And now gambling stains that Dodger blue logo. It's unfortunate, folks, for the game. It is unfortunate for the Dodgers having to have another PR nightmare like this on their hands. And again, this better damn will be a wake-up call to that stuck-up, ignorant, lazy commissioner's office to put their foot down on gambling in some capacity. Best course of action is simple. You reinstate Shoeless Joe and you reinstate Pete Rose. But again, folks, Shohei Ohtani will officially address the media for the first time since the firing of his interpreter, IP Mizuhara, coming up at roughly 2:45 p.m. local time here on the West Coast, 5:45 Eastern, regarding the gambling scandal that, again, has rocked the baseball world involving him and former interpreter IP Mizuhara. The timing of his appearance is uncertain as the Dodgers do, in fact, play the Angels tonight at roughly 6:10 Pacific time from Dodger Stadium. But again, 2:45 p.m. for that press conference. It is also, though, unclear whether or not Shohei will actually be able to take questions, whether it'll be a predetermined or pre-read statement. Again, the scandal does involve right now allegations that IP Mizuhara, his former interpreter, stole money from Ohtani to pay off gambling debts of roughly $4.5 million, with the Dodgers already firing Mizuhara. And right now, the league is currently conducting an investigation into the matter at hand. The Dodgers right now, again, will have Ohtani available today and tomorrow, and of course, for Thursday's home opener against the St. Louis Cardinals to officially begin their season at home. All right, folks, we'll move away from baseball and go over right now to soccer. Great finish last night in the CONCACAF Nations League Championship that again saw the U.S. men's national team beat their neighbors to the south in Mexico by the all too familiar final score of 2-0, 2-0, the final score. However, though, folks, the game was overshadowed on Sunday by sadly the ever elusive, infamous goalie chant done by the Mexican fan base in Arlington, Texas on Sunday. Mexico fans have long repeatedly been using the anti-gay or anti-LGBTQ plus chants, causing disruptions in play towards goalkeeper restart kicks. The match was halted in the final minutes after announcements were made by the PA announcers to stop the chants going on, but they still continued during stoppage time. This, of course, folks, is not, though, the first time that this has been going on, though, in soccer that is involved during the Nation League final or even involving the Mexican national team. Previous matches have been halted and paused due to the fans' usage of the chants. And Mexico has been faced stiff penalties from FIFA in the past for this behavior, involving fines and also playing games without fans and playing behind closed doors. The responsibility, though, for punishing these incidents falls under CONCACAF's jurisdiction. Ahead of the finals, CONCACAF also implemented a 3-step policy to address any sort of language that involves discrimination from fans, including temporary pauses of the game, stadium announcements made by the PA announcer, and potential match suspensions, or even the abandonment of the match by the head referee and the referee crew. Hate to say, folks, this is nothing new in the world of football. Again, the proper version of football, better known here as soccer. I do, though, folks, applaud soccer and the global game that is football on trying their best to combat this behavior. But much like drunk fans at sporting events, you really can't crack down on this happening. But I do, though, applaud CONCACAF and FIFA for having a system in place, though, to rid this sort of behavior from the games, where, again, you can stop play, you can make announcements, or you can basically force a team to forfeit the game if it does not stop. But I was sitting around this morning, finishing off doing the laundry, wondering about why does this keep happening, though, with the Mexican national team? And part of me came to this conclusion, especially when El Tri plays the red, white, and blue. They view losing to the Americans as a utter embarrassment for the fact along the lines of, hey, these people don't know soccer. Like, this is our national sport. We can beat these guys anytime, any place, anywhere. Stat-wise, Sunday marks 10 straight wins by Team USA over Mexico, all by the 2-0 scoreline. But the El Tri fan base views losing to Team USA as a utter embarrassment, which I believe kind of in a way leads to why these chants become a thing. But I do think that we do need to give credit again to FIFA and CONCACAF. Again, this might be the other, rare time again that we actually use the phrase FIFA and great job in the same sentence. As I said back here a while back when we talked about the fact that FIFA actually put the host cities in North America and mainly in the States in a NFL stadium where MLS clubs play their games too in the market. But I do think, though, folks, it is very difficult to clamp down on this behavior. You can make all the announcements. You can pause the game so many times over. You can suspend the match until the fan base cools the waters. Or the referee can just totally abandon the match. I still don't think you can rid the behavior, sadly, of this in the global game of football, which again is soccer. Again, I just feel from the scope, though, that Mexico feels embarrassed when they lose to Team USA. And that they kind of, in a way, have to resort to that nature, or resort to those levels of, getting into altercations during the game on the field. Or they result to this very, in a way, childish behavior of chanting a offensive anti-LGBTQ plus slur. That they have to find some tactical way to disrupt Team USA's momentum. Or for that matter, the opposition, whether it's Team USA or not. I think Mexico just views losing in soccer as a utter embarrassment and a letdown to their fan base and their federation. And I think it hurts them more, or it stings that much more when they lose to Team USA. But I applaud CONCACAF, I applaud FIFA, and I applaud Major League Soccer. Because I know before every match, they run a video that the league produces every year about our league does not tolerate this behavior. Yes, we know the passion is there for your club. And we know that the fire may burn harder or burn brighter when you play your rival franchise or like a rival club. But at the end of the day, that no one should feel threatened or less than a person, or they should not feel welcomed at a sporting event because of whatever hostility may take place. And again, we have a long way to go, folks, in every walk of life to getting rid of this behavior. Not just in sports, but at the office, on the street corners, across state lines, within the counties, and across the country. There's still work to be done. And like I usually say, folks, sports is supposed to be a uniting home front. Padre fan or Dodger fan, whatever. You're supposed to go to that game and enjoy yourself. I think of what Joe Musgrove said on Saturday when the Padres had their public memorial for their owner, Peter Seidler, passing away, where Joe said it's so right, though, that sports is supposed to be our escape from from the craziness of our daily lives. It's supposed to bring communities and fans and strangers together. And that's why I applaud FIFA and CONCACAF and MLS so much for having those league-produced videos out there. But again, I applaud them, though, for having a policy in place to stop play if this crap continues to go on. But part of me, though, does kind of, in a way, feel, though, that the El Tri fan base of the Mexican national team, I know it's passion, but man, you got to lay off this stuff. just because Team USA has your number, you have to resort to this kind of behavior because you feel embarrassed wearing that green, red, and white and wearing the eagle on your chest? You feel embarrassed with the fact that Team USA keeps beating you 2-0 and you have to resort to chants about or being anti-LGBTQ plus? Not a good look. And again, I think, though, that the policy is perfect in place right now where, again, they can stop the game temporarily. They can make announcements over the PA. They can suspend a match, or they can even abandon the match by the head referee if it continues to spiral out of control. I mean, part of me wondered. I mean, I was getting text updates from my friend Matt Lehman last night after the Gulls game ended about this, and he was like, "We're in the 97th minute, guys, and they have paused the game because of these chants." So again, folks, I don't know what really else could be done. But I think, though, that I really applaud CONCACAF and FIFA for having these measures in place, where it feels like it's almost a 3-strike rule. You get a warning with a temporary halt to the game and an announcement by the PA announcer. The second time around, you probably say, okay, we're going to pause the game for X amount of minutes, pull the teams off the field, and go into the locker room and wait with more announcements from the PA announcer. And then by strike 3, the match is suspended, or the referee says, we're out of here. The match has been abandoned. Now, I would have thought, though, if this would have happened way earlier in the match, that this game may have been a drop by the referee crew on its head. But I think with the chanting beginning late in the game into stoppage time, well into the ending of the game was basically in the bag for Team USA, up 2-0. I see why the refs wanted to play it out. But I do think, though, if this would have happened earlier in the game of a 0-0 game or right after Team USA went ahead 1-0 or went up 2-0, then I could see, though, where they pull the teams off the field for the 15 minutes that I think is mandatory for them to pull teams off the field, though, when the chants begin. But would you really want to suspend or even abandon a tournament final? I would think, though, my other statement would be, though, if the score is already kind of a given, but it happens, though, within the run of play before stoppage time, I would rule the game a forfeit and give the opposition the win. But again, folks, sadly, another Team USA men's national soccer team victory over Mexico by the score best known as 2-0, overshadowed, sadly, by anti-LGBTQ plus chants by the Mexican fan base on Sunday, which caused disruptions in the game. The match was halted in the final minutes of play after announcements were made to stop the chanting, but they still continued well beyond stoppage time. Again, there's been other instances, folks, of this happening. But again, I also applaud CONCACAF for having a 3-step policy to address this behavior, which includes pausing the game, in-game announcements, and potential suspensions of the match, or even the referee can also abandon the match if it does prolong and continue to be out of control. And that is, I think, though, again, you can't weed out the behavior. I know you can kick people out, though, for being drunk in public, though, or if it gets really out of control like that at a sporting event. But again, though, Mexico's already paid the price, though, with fines and having to play behind closed doors with no fans being allowed to be inside the stadium. That's about all I think you really can do at this rate, though, at this point in time. Let's, folks, move on to an ongoing issue involving the Capitals and Wizards and team owner Ted Leonsis. The owner of both the Wizards and Capitals received full confirmation from the Attorney General in D.C. that Ted cannot move the franchises out of town until at least 2047. The D.C. Attorney General cites a bond and lease agreement signed in 2007 that prohibits the teams from relocating, even if the existing bond debt is paid off. Leonsis had previously discussed the possibility of moving the teams to Maryland with Governor Wes Moore, but also had a prior agreement with Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. However, concerns about subsidizing a billionaire have arisen in both Virginia and also in Maryland. Ted remains hopeful about eventually moving the clubs to Virginia sometime soon. Did you not read the fine print there, sir? I hate to say that, but did you not read the fine print? I know that the Mystics have moved out of Capital One Arena, and they have been a far more successful team along with the Capitals other than the Wizards have recently. But again, though, a owner moving for greener pastures, I have no respect for them. You know why? Because it happened to me in my NFL fandom in my hometown in 2017. I lose respect for ownerships who leave town and try to leave town or do leave town for greener pastures. Again, this may go against what I said, though, about the Clippers moving their G League team to San Diego. But I backed up my thoughts, though, saying that the Clippers have still reached out to San Diego in some capacity. A hell of a lot more than that NFL team has in the time that they've been gone. Again, I lose respect for owners in sports who move out of their markets to find a greener pasture and build a better stadium or a better arena. Now, again, I can kind of see, though, about where Ted Leonsis is coming from, though, because about the D.C. area and that the fans of the DMV are fans of the teams in Washington, D.C. Caps, Nationals, Wizards, D.C. United, the Mystics, for example. But regardless, though, you're stuck in this, you're stuck in the nation's capital till at least 2047. Like, you are not going anywhere for nearly 20 more years, roughly. Quick math, it's still 23 years, I believe, that the Wizards and Caps have still in the nation's capital. But again, I really just lose a lot of respect, though, mainly in sports, for ownerships who elect to move to a new city. Looking at you, Dean Spanos, Stan Kroenke, John J. Fisher, Jim Irsay, Donald Sterling. Notice I didn't say Steve Ballmer. Because Steve Ballmer's made it a point of emphasis to reach out to San Diego with the Clippers. Even before the G League team announced their intention to move to San Diego from Ontario. Think back 2 years ago, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Norman Powell coming to Padre playoff games against the LA Dodgers. Again, Kawhi and Norm having San Diego ties. Kawhi Leonard, Aztec for life. Norman Powell, Lincoln High alum. But once more, respect for me goes out the window when owners feel the need to move a franchise out of a market that they've been in for so damn long. Yeah, if you're old enough, you could blame Barron Hilton for moving the Chargers already out of LA to San Diego back in 61 if you want to. Or blame Gene Autry for moving the LA Angels in 66 to Anaheim. But it worked out better for the Angels in the long run if you really look at it. But it's more about like Dean Spanos, for example. Even Stan Kroenke. Which, again, when I saw the Chargers leave San Diego, folks, that is what made me resent the NFL and resent that sport entirely. Because more was not done here by that league and that incompetent ownership group to keep that franchise in San Diego. But now that Ted Leonsis is trying to move the Wizards and Capitals out of town, I don't get it and I don't like it. I don't have to like it either. Because I'm sure it's different though in DC, folks, where again you're within the confines of Maryland and by Virginia and Delaware and things like that, where, again, there's no other pro sports teams in those states. But it still makes no sense, though, that teams in the nation's capital would be moving out. What are you going to call them? The Virginia Capitals or the Virginia Wizards? Or the Virginia Valkyries? I get it, though, that maybe that he can't get a new arena built, perhaps, in D.C. I know you're probably, like, comparing yourself to the Nationals who got a new ballpark built to relieve themselves of the aging RFK Stadium. Or the fact you sent your WNBA team, who's won a title, out of Capital One to a different venue somewhere in Virginia, I believe, or somewhere in Maryland. Again, it is a major disservice that you can't stay loyal to that city. Or for that matter, the district. You know, for all the branding that the Wizards have done to claim DC, that, again, it makes no sense to want out of the nation's capital. Again, though, I can understand, like, well, the Nationals got a new stadium. Well, this, well, that. You know, the Commanders are this and that. I get it. But again, you lose a lot of respect from my perspective as someone who has seen a franchise in their hometown leave town to go to greener pastures somewhere else. But regardless, you know, Ted Leonsis and the Caps and Wizards, sadly, you're stuck in the nation's capital for 23 more years, my friend. By the time you're able to move, I'll be 42 years old. Maybe 52 years old. So you can try your best to make a deal under the table, but you're legally bound right now to the District of Columbia till 2047. Kind of in a way, good luck trying to get out of that ordeal. Christy Wilson chimes in to say it'd be very cool if the Clippers went back to San Diego. Now, Christy, the Clippers from LA are not coming to San Diego. They are bringing their minor league basketball team from Ontario, California, to San Diego next season, playing at the new Front Wave Arena, which holds about 7,500 people for a basketball game. So basically, this would be what the goals are to the Anaheim Ducks. The Clippers minor league team is coming to San Diego, playing at this new arena next G League season to send guys to the LA Clippers. And plus, the Clippers, Christie, won't come here because they just built a brand new $2 billion arena in Inglewood, California called Intuit Dome. Christie added one more infamous owner that did not cross my mind. Clay Bennett is public enemy number one in Seattle for moving the Sonics to Oklahoma City. That one, Christie, he's right there with Dean Spanos, in my opinion, for what, of course, has gone on in that realm of the sports world. With that, folks, we'll move over now to March Madness, but it's more March bitterness. The state of college basketball and college athletics is deeply right now unsettled with March Madness still, with losses in March Madness piling up and now posing right now existing questions about roster building, economic support, and even competition. 3-seed Kentucky losing to Oakland highlights this shift right now in college basketball. The Cats fielded a young team against an older opponent, and Coach John Calipari wonders if he needs to adjust to this brand new landscape. This year's tournament, folks, is going on, though, in wake of player unionization at Dartmouth University and right now USC, conference realignment, legal battles, and concerns about name, image, and likeness relegations, and also the transfer portal has added more chaos to this and team development as players operate on a year-to-year basis, focusing less on establishing bonds with a specific school or university. Coaches like John Calipari are very concerned about the massive player turnover and the trend of college athletes seeking better NIL offers by transferring schools. Furthermore, Miami Hurricanes head coach John Laranga questions the logic behind half of college basketball players seeking new destinations. I hate to tell you, but I told you so. I have said, folks, from the get-go, since Nick Saban retired, and I said it on here last Wednesday on Sports Minute, is a older, longer tenured head coach like John Calipari wanting to kind of, in a way, get out of the industry because they do not want to deal with what is going on in college athletics. Once again, folks, I will say again that I am a firm believer in NIL deals. However, bullet point 5, I should say, bullet point 5. Bullet point 5 is my main gripe here. Why is the NCAA allowing the portal to be open while a season is still in progress? I'm all for NIL, folks. I am not for, though, having the portal being open for a college for a season that is still playing out. That literally would be like free agency being a thing in the NFL or any sport while the year's still in progress. I, once again, folks, will say again, the transfer portal has to be closed, locked, and shut until 12:01 a.m. the day after we crown the national champion in every college sport. But again, I wonder aloud, though, about a lot of these big-name, long-tenured household coaches. For example, again, like Nick Saban, John Calipari, Rick Pitino, Gino Auriemma, Patty Grasco, Kim Mulkey. Do a lot of these coaches who have been coaching through a broken, outdated college system, do they want the challenge of having to navigate the new waters of not having players being with their program for all 4 years? The transfer portal being a factor, NILs being a factor, realignment being a factor. Sadly, I think we're going to see more and more coaches of this nature kind of in a way sounding bitter. But I think, though, that they're right. Again, I think it's more wrong, though, that this transfer portal thing is open in the middle of the season, still going on, and we're in the playoffs. Again, could you imagine, like, Major League Baseball letting next season's free agents, like, in the middle of the regular season, declare their free agency in the middle of the season, like in May or June or before the trade deadline? You have got to close the portal. Once more, folks, again, I am all in favor of NILs. Again, I might be the lone person on our network here who agrees with that. And I don't want to kind of come off as like I know more than the rest of my co-hosts here on this network because I work in college athletics. I just think back, like I said, though, last Wednesday. I just think back, though, to the stories about the kids who were getting payments because maybe they weren't able to buy lunch one day from the school food court, or they couldn't get a ride to work if they don't drive, or they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. And I think about some of the other stories of like schools who have had to vacate national championships or vacate victories in a season because of like getting paid $20 to go grab lunch one day, or to have lunch with a coach, or with the AD, or go spend a Friday night on the town with their friends. That's why I'm all for NIL deals, because that way they can go to bed at night with a full stomach, maybe pay a couple of bills that they have to pay, and kind of in a way be an actual human being and not just viewed as the student athlete for a change. I recall when I was in high school, folks, we had no athletic trainers. Now, all of a sudden, we have athletic trainers at every high school game now. I didn't have that at my disposal when I was in high school. We didn't have the luxury of being bused to and from away games. We had a carpool. Again, this may be John Calipari being bitter for the fact of a blue blood program gets knocked out in round one by an unknown university from a very small conference. It might be bitterness. But it goes back to my point from last Wednesday. Does a coach like John Calipari want to keep staying around and hanging around with this convoluted system right now that is right now in college athletics? Where the portal is open for some damn reason in the middle of a season still? Yeah, I know I have friends of mine who play at USD who are in the portal right now for basketball. But again, I think it should not be a thing until the champs are crowned in men's and women's hoops in April. Again, that would be like Blake Snell, who just signed his contract with San Francisco, that has an opt-out for next season. That would be like Blake Snell opting out halfway through the baseball season because free agency is open 24/7 in Major League Baseball, for example. That's probably how I could compare the transfer portal. Again, even if your team did not make the tournament, the season is still going on. And again, the portal cannot be open while this tournament is playing out. If I have to make a better comparison, maybe dumb it down for some of you people out there, think back to the past college football season. Look back at the Orange Bowl. Look at Florida State. Snubbed out of the CFP right away. 20 players into the portal. Oregon State and Notre Dame in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Like a combined 40 players were in the portal because they were not in the CFP or in a bigger bowl game. Again, would you want to have like Blake Snell, for example, opt out of his contract halfway through the baseball season because he has an opt-out clause and you have free agency open in baseball 24/7 while the year's in progress? If you want to stop all this movement and if you want to keep players around in your program, then keep the portal closed till you crown the champions of college basketball April 7th and April 8th. You can wait till April 9th and 10th to let these kids move about the country. But you cannot let this happen on March 25th while we're still playing out the Sweet 16 coming up on Thursday. Again, it might be John Calipari being bitter that a blue blood program like his Kentucky Wildcats get knocked out by a lesser-known mid-major 14-seed school. But in a way, though, Coach Cal's right. And again, he's even questioning his own mortality, folks, in bullet point 3. John Calipari is wondering if he needs to adjust to this new college athletics landscape. Which, again, leads me back to last Wednesday on Sports Minute. When I, again, said clear as day on here, do coaches like John Calipari, Nick Saban, Rick Pitino, Patty Grasco, Kim Mulkey, Gino Auriemma, do they want to continue to coach when they've only known one way? And right now, that one way of coaching right now is a broken, convoluted system because we have made NIL deals a thing. And for some ungodly reason, this transfer portal, that's now de facto free agency, is now a thing. I think more coaches begin to question their mortality, like I said on here a while back. And I would hate to see more big-name coaches kind of feel like they're being forced out because of the ever-evolving landscape of college athletics. I honestly might cry when Gino Auriemma announces he's going to retire from coaching UConn women's basketball. Because that program is what made me a basketball fan. I cried the day Pat Summitt retired coaching at Tennessee and when she passed away from her Alzheimer's diagnosis. But again, I might legitimately cry if when Gino Auriemma makes an announcement that he's going to retire from coaching UConn women's basketball. Yeah, because it made me a fan of the sport. But also, like, this is a dagger to the heart for the fact of, like, one of the best or greatest all-time basketball coaches, regardless if it's men's or women's basketball, has to retire because they don't want to put up with this malarkey that is right now in college athletics. Players becoming or forming labor unions at Dartmouth. Conference realignment. Again, I've been the biggest voice out here pushing against realignment. I will say it again. I do not believe it's going to work. Call me stupid. Call me an idiot. Tell me to quit my job. Unfriend me on Facebook. Unfollow me on the web. I don't care. I don't think that's going to work either. Again, I even have my reservations that I believe that NIL should be a thing. I just don't agree with the fact that we can have a transfer portal be a thing, mainly for the fact of it being a thing in the middle of a season still going on. Again, in my picture-perfect world, the portal cannot, would not be open until we hand over the national championship trophy to the champions of that sport. Once 12:01 a.m. hits the following day, then players can transfer, but not in the middle of the season and whether or not your school made the big tournament or not. Again, I don't really care what anyone else out there thinks. I will keep beating that dead horse that NIL should be a thing because of the fact, again, as I want to make sure these kids can be able to pay off any bills that they may have to pay for anything in regards to on-campus activities. Or just grabbing lunch, for example, and maybe they don't get, and maybe they've already wasted a lot of their money from their regular job, but they have a job away from school. That's why I want NIL to be a thing. I'd rather, though, would like to see the portal closed and shut and chained up and locked until the national title is crowned in every sport. The day after the title game, you can go ahead and do so. But I digress. Let's, folks, move on to our final topic today. There is brand new rules in the NFL, which has been approved as of today. 3 new rules have been approved by the league owners and the league competition committee as of Monday. The first rule that has been changed, proposed by the Lions, amends Rule 15, Section 1 of Article 1 to safeguard a team's ability to challenge a third ruling after a successful challenge. The second rule by the committee modifies Rule 14, Section 5, Article 2, allowing for the enforcement of a major foul committed by the offense before a change of possession, even if the fouls were committed by both teams. The third rule, also proposed by the committee, alters Rule 12, Section 2 to eliminate a dangerous tackling technique while a player traps the runner's leg below the knee, or better known as the rugby tackle or the hip lock tackle, as we talked about on C2C at night. This technique will now be considered to be unnecessary roughness, a 15-yard penalty, and an automatic first down. Additionally, teams can now, though, be allowed a third challenge if they are successful in one or both of their challenges. However, a team, though, that wins both challenges will not be getting a fourth challenge. The maximum number of challenges per game is now going to be 3 at this rate. Furthermore, rules were not approved, by the way, on Monday, which could again be put back on the table or for vote in May. The first change, which was put forward by the Eagles, aims to eliminate the first touch spot after the receiving team possessed the ball. Another proposal by the Eagles also suggested allowing a team to maintain possession of the ball after scoring by substituting one offensive play for a onside kick attempt, but this was not approved either. The Colts also proposed allowing coaches or replay officials to challenge any called foul, but they withdrew their proposal. The committee also proposed multiple changes, including making certain rulings reviewable, easy for me to say, and also expanding the crackback prohibition. Additionally, they also suggested a new form of free play kickoffs designed to promote more returns, which will be put to vote later on in the season. Right now, regarding the hip lock tackles, that again, like James said, though, it's kind of in a way further hurting defenses right now in the NFL. That there's really no clear right way to tackle somebody without the flag coming out from the officiating crew. And again, it's kind of putting the microscope on the defense now at this stage of here's what you can do, here's what you can't, and it's more about the can'ts outweigh the cans. Again, this really, I think, right now is killing defense in the NFL, where this sport is almost kind of becoming like Arena League football. We're going to see more and more high-scoring games because the defense is so limited and restricted on what kind of tackles they can do. I do like, though, about Detroit with that proposing that safeguard ability to challenge a third ruling after they get a challenge correct. But also, one just wonder about pace of play. I know this isn't baseball, but I like the incentive, though, about if you get the challenge right, though, you get another challenge after that. So you would have 3 challenges left in the game. But I mainly, though, folks, wonder about the rule change made, though, for the hip-style tackles. Because this is further, I think, impeding defenses in the NFL. Again, there's already enough in place right now to protect the quarterbacks. Now, again, I did say here last week on C2C at Night that I could hear all the old guard about, oh, my goodness, you're making this more about the offense, just, whatever the mindset is. Again, you have to wonder, though, folks, about where the NFL is at right now with lawsuits. Again, as much as I despise the NFL, though, they are trying to make the game safer. And I know you really can't do that, folks, in the NFL. Again, this is a brutal sport like hockey. But I do think, though, you are somewhat, in a way, taking the defensive side of the ball away from teams. And almost like devaluing defensive units out there on the field. By going the route of saying, well, you can only do this, you can't do that. Again, the can'ts outweigh the cans in this situation. But again, folks, the NFL competition committee on Monday did approve 3 new rules for gameplay for the season. The first rule by the Lions that was proposed would amend Rule 15, Section 1, Article 1 to safeguard a team's ability to challenge a third ruling of a play after a successful challenge. The other rule suggested by the committee would modify Rule 14, Section 5, Article 2 to allow for the enforcement of a major foul committed by the offense before a change of possession, even if fouls were committed by both teams on the play. And the third rule will also proposed by the competition committee will also alter Rule 12, Section 2 to eliminate a dangerous tackle technique where a player traps the runner's leg below the knee, which is now being considered unnecessary roughness and would be a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. It is what it is, folks, at this rate. But once more, again, I do think, though, that we're kind of in a way right now getting to that point right now at this stage where the defense is kind of, in a way, being underneath a bigger microscope and magnifying glass as time goes on. With that, folks, we will call it a day right here. A major thank you to everyone for joining us today on our Monday edition of Press Row. Again, covered a lot of ground today with baseball. Again, folks, once more, we'll have, Shohei Ohtani will again address the media in roughly half an hour time. James Gonzalez and myself will have a full recap and kind of, in a way, a full discussion about that later tonight following Bro Code tonight on C2C tonight. But again, the Bros are back on air at 10 o'clock tonight, back here on C2C, followed up by C2C at night at 11 o'clock to recap the day in sports with myself and James Gonzalez. A big thank you again to Christy Wilson for joining us today on the program. We will see folks back here again for Press Row. If you're wondering, by the way, on Thursday and Friday this week back here on C2C at roughly 1 o'clock in the afternoon on both days back here on C2C. With that, folks, Callan McClurg signing off. Have a good day. We'll see you back here later tonight. Till then, good day.